You're listening to the future of America, and the future is bright. Here is Charlie Kirk.
Welcome back, everybody. I was just listening to President Trump. We're Bitcoin.com studio. It's one of my favorite things when he tells stories is, I have a friend who hasn't left his house in 4 years, and now he can go out to dinner because we have the National Guard. I love it. It's so good. And it's true. What do we have, guys? My Patriot Supply. MyPatriotSupply.com. I actually have a really good email to read about that. MyPatriotSupply.com. That is MyPatriotSupply.com. The summer isn't just hot, it's historic. Flash flood warnings are at a 40-year high, and it's not slowing down. Towns are underwater, and roads are washed out. And in every crisis zone, the same scene. Crowds standing in line, waiting for bottled water, waiting for food, waiting for someone to show up and save them. They tell you that help is on the way. Wait again, but what if it's not? What if it takes days or doesn't come at all? You think the system is built to protect you? They can barely handle one emergency, let alone dozens. Go to MyPatriotSupply.com. It's giving away 4 weeks of emergency food. Just go to MyPatriotSupply.com. That is MyPatriotSupply.com. So check it out right now, MyPatriotSupply.com/Kirk. That is MyPatriotSupply.com/KIRK. That is MyPatriotSupply.com/KIRK. Portions of the Charlie Kirk Show are brought to you in part by My Patriot Supply. The most improved foreign leader award goes to Vladimir Zelensky, or Volodymyr Zelensky. He goes to the Oval Office wearing a suit, so that was kind of a sticking point last time. He thanked Melania for her letter to Russia on behalf of Ukrainian children. Very smart. Thanked America for its massive financial support, and President Trump for his efforts to achieve peace. You see, there's a learning curve here that is quite dramatic. Constantly and always improving. Be grateful. Be positive. President Trump likes it. We're going to have Jack Posobiec here in just a second, but let's also frame this entire thing. Look, Ukraine is not going to take back Crimea. That is a fundamental truth. We are getting into that with Lieutenant General Michael Flynn. Not going to take back Crimea. They're not taking back any territory that has been overrun thus far. That Europe needs to swallow that pill. You could blame Donald Trump. You could blame Joe Biden, but you shouldn't blame Trump. Are you kidding me? You should blame Biden. For the past 2.5 years, this war is consistently and entirely of Russia gradually grinding down Ukraine. Let's go to cut 347. This is live new from the Oval Office meeting. Play cut 347.
Yes, Peter, go ahead.
Thank you, President Trump. So, President Zelensky, you say in the Post-Times today, Russia must end this war, which it itself started. President Trump, you say President Zelensky of Ukraine can end the war with Russia almost immediately if he wants to, which is it?
Yeah, I think that's true. I think we're going to have a meeting. I think if everything works out well today, we'll have a trilat. And I think there will be a reasonable chance of ending the war when we do that.
First of all, I think President Trump just likes saying trilat because that's like the coolest thing ever. He just kind of throws it in there. Yeah, well, the trilat. I love it. He means a trilateral meeting, which, by the way, if you were in that seat, you'd be saying, yeah, we'll have a trilat. We'll see if we can have a trilat. This just kind of rolls off the tongue. What would a trilateral meeting be? President Trump, Zelensky, Putin. Where would it be? It's a good question. Maybe you go back to Alaska. Maybe you go to Zurich. Maybe you go to the Middle East. Or maybe you go to Guam. Just kind of say, hey, guys, frequent flyer miles, we're just going to go all the way down to the Northern Mariana Islands. All kidding aside, a trilateral meeting is how this thing would end. That would, by the way, now we're talking history in a way that President Trump would be in the history books. To end this murderous slaughter, and it's very interesting. Both Putin and Zelensky are saying this war has to end. Who has the better cards? Play cut 349, then welcome Jack Posobiec. 349.
And as you met with Putin on Friday, today you've got President Zelensky here. As you listen to Russia and Ukraine, which side has the better cards? Right?
Well, I don't want to say that. I'm just here to be. Look, this isn't my war. This is Joe Biden's war. He's the one that had a lot to do with this happening, and we want to get it ended. And we want it to end good for everybody. We want it to end good. The people of Ukraine have suffered incredibly.
Peace is the prize. Joining us now is Jack Posobiec live from the White House. Jack, great to see you. What is the breaking news, the energy, the vibe? The European delegation is there alongside Zelensky. Bring us into the context right there on White House grounds.
Well, Charlie, I'm here. We got to see President Trump just meet President Zelensky, bring him there into the Oval Office, talking with officials all morning about this. And certainly the stakes are very high, but I definitely felt a looseness in, just sort of the conversations I was having with a number of White House officials here. People understanding that, look, the president is very clear on what he wants. His goals are America's goals. America's goals are for the war to end. Obviously, there's going to be these questions to go back and forth between the Russians, between the Ukrainians regarding on contact line and various issues of the oblasts and borders, this and that. But when it came to the president, it seemed as though his red lines were set and that he was going to be delivering that message to Zelensky and to the European leaders today. Although we already know that he's held a series of phone calls with them throughout the entire weekend, including what we were told, a tough phone call on Air Force one that even after we landed on Saturday morning, Charlie, President Trump stayed there on the plane. Caroline Levitt came back to us and we said, hey, we landed. What's going on? Are we heading out? They said President Trump is still on the phone. He's still working. It's 2:30 in the morning. This guy has not stopped because he is explaining to them what the deal is going to be and getting their side of the picture. So this is something that the president has really been working on all weekend. And now I think we're getting close, potentially, to an agreement here from the European side as well as the Ukrainian side. But of course, time will tell. And of course, President Trump saying as well that the goal for later today is a press conference between himself, Ursula von der Leyen, and President Zelensky.
Yeah, as you've mentioned before, Jack, you flew with the president from Joint Base Andrews all the way to Anchorage and back. What was a component of that meeting that you think the media really missed? Something about what happened in Anchorage that you wish would have been covered better, that would have further contextualized and got us closer to some approximation of the truth of what happened in Anchorage?
Well, Charlie, I think something that the Russian side was able to discuss with the president, and this has come out a little bit in media, look at some of what Axios has been writing over the time, is that really that the Russians' statements have not changed as much in terms of their root causes, but the idea that they are willing at this point to pull back on some of their claims, make concessions in places like Zaporizhia and Kherson, some of these regions where the fighting is still going on, and the fact that they were at least willing to sit down while they do currently have the upper hand militarily here is absolutely huge. Look, you don't see this. Go back to World War II. You didn't see the two sides holding meetings during the war or things like this. And so the entire gravity of that moment, having a little bit of decorum, having a little bit of respect for the moment is something that I talked about. I certainly tried to while I was there. I wish that other members of the media had done as well, because there's a lot of very sensitive issues that were being talked about. And then plus when Putin brought up the shared sacrifice of Russians and Americans in World War II, then visited that military cemetery afterwards, going and laying the wreath, meeting with members of the Russian Orthodox Church in Alaska, which has a very strong foothold because of the history there. He's really asking, I think, and the Russians are really offering, not like Hillary Clinton said years ago, but an actual potential reset between Russia and the West.
And that will require President Trump to kind of steamroll the European elite, if you will. It's going to require him to kind of push back on this. What do you have to say? So we've been told that there is no security, there's no NATO security guarantees. It's kind of like diet NATO. The land is going to be the sticking point. Let's go to 322, though. Let's go to 322, please. Let's play that.
Thank you, press. Thank you, press. Thank you, press. Let's go. Come on, guys. Come on, guys. Let's go. Let's go. Thank you, press. Let's go.
Thank you, press. Thank you, press. Thank you.
They're just screaming and yammering at Vladimir Putin. What was this all about?
I mean, Charlie, I was standing right there when it was happening, and maybe it's the way I was raised, maybe it's having been an officer in the Navy, but, when you get brought in front of two commander-in-chiefs of their respective countries, I was always told that you wait till you're called on before you start asking questions, or maybe you raise your hand, something like that. We get in, they start yelling things. Why are you killing children? When are you going to stop the killing? I just felt that it was inappropriate. I thought it was inappropriate for the moment. I thought it was inappropriate and an absolute breach of decorum. I mean, this was a very special diplomatic meeting between the presidents of two respective nations that are certainly on opposite sides of the war. Now, President Trump, of course, didn't start this war, but he's working very hard to complete it. That's why people are saying, why was he talking with him? Why did he give him the ride in the beast? Why did he, have these conversations? Clearly, as I reported at the time, it looked like they were speaking in English. And it's because he's working hard for peace. And while also at the same time highlighting, and I posted the video that's now been seen around the world with the B-2 bomber and Putin's double take as it flies over his head. So he's doing an incredible job on behalf of the American people to hold to his promises during the campaign and actually try to deliver a real peace for Ukraine, which is a place I've visited multiple times since this war has begun. It is a war-torn country. And you'd think that the rest of the media would try to at least show a little bit of respect for everything that's going on between then and now.
Finally, Jack, what would you say? I asked this question to Lieutenant General Michael Flynn. What would you say is the biggest sticking point that you are most worried about? Like a sticking point that could get in the way of this deal, that could blow it up, and that could keep this war going? What would you say is the element, the little the sleeper component, if you will? Jack Posobiec.
Well, Charlie, one of the biggest pieces that I think a lot of people are missing on and sleeping on is the rebuilding effort. Is Ukraine going to ask for reparations? Is BlackRock going to come in? Who are getting the deals on this? This is something I discussed with Secretary Bessent quite extensively while he and I traveled to Kiev back in February. And Bessent had actually said at one point that he does not want China to be getting involved, that he doesn't want any country that was a party to this war getting involved in the rebuilding, although we've heard things from the Ukrainian side that they may want China to come in. So the rebuilding effort, I think, is going to be a huge and really unfocused on portion to all of this.
Jack Posobiec, thank you. Will you be here all day? Give the audience some update of your plans, because you've really been on this. Please, 30 seconds.
Well, I will be here all day. Human Events Daily will be here live from the White House grounds, and I'll be taking, if we make it to the press conference, I'll be there.
President Trump just said, I don't think you need a ceasefire. We can work a deal where we're working on a peace deal while they're fighting. He also said, quote, President Trump will speak to Vladimir Putin after this meeting. He does not need to be doing this. President Trump does not need to be doing this. I think President Trump cares about the humanity of every single human being made in the image of God, and also he knows that this will be an unbelievable legacy builder, the likes of which is hard to grasp. Jack Posobiec, thank you so much. Z Factor, let's go to zfactor.com. If you guys want to get better sleep, go to relieffactor.com. Z Factor goes beyond melatonin, and Z Factor uses a combination of 4 natural ingredients to help relax your mind so you fall asleep quicker. Once you fall asleep, it helps you stay asleep. It's 100% drug-free and it's safe to take regularly. No groggy feeling when you wake up. Z Factor was developed by Relief Factor, so you can count on the science behind it. Right now, pay $19.95 for a 30-day supply of 46% savings. Call 1-800-4RELIEF. That is 1-800-4RELIEF, or visit relieffactor.com. That is relieffactor.com. Better sleep without drugs. See how Z Factor can get you the Z's that you want. Z Factor goes beyond just melatonin. So go to relieffactor.com. That is relieffactor.com. Email us as always, freedom@charliekirk.com, and subscribe to our podcast. We might touch on a little bit more of the breaking news from the Oval Office meeting with Zelensky. There's some breaking news, but honestly, a lot of it is just, hey, it's going to be worked out privately, and that's okay. My thing I'm most worried about, it's not Zelensky as much. It's his European chaperones. Those European chaperones, they're a problem. We'll be right back.